Okay. We call the work session on April 22nd, 2017 at Coffee County Board of Education order. And we'll ask Mr. Davis, if you will, give the indication.
Let's pray. Lord, we just come to you today, Lord, we just thank you for such a beautiful day, and we thank you for your blessings that you've given us. And Lord, we just pray that you be with the school board tonight as they conduct their business, Lord. We pray that you guide and direct them, and they always have our kids in their mind, Lord, and for the good of the community. In Jesus' name we ask, amen.
Okay, adoption of agenda. Any questions on the agenda?
Mr. President, you able to get in? I saw we did something in note.
Yeah, I was, but I left my phone with that.
Did you need a paper copy of that?
I had I'm sure they can. I'm not here, sure.
It's not what we want.
Hey, do the copy so that they can change it one time. That format, I won't have to change it back.
Thank you. I've got it.
You're not logging in? You're not getting in?
Everybody good with the agenda? Motion to adopt.
Move we adopt the agenda as presented.
Mr. Preston,
Second.
Mr. Lott, all in favor? Adopted.
Yes, sir. We have been presenting the minutes each month to the board. We presented those to you for last month. Earlier this week, put that onto e-board, and you've had a chance to review those minutes. Are there any questions about the minutes, any edits we need to make, changes? There's no changes to be made. We will add those to the consent agenda. All right. Feel like the volume's up. Is it up? Thank you. All right. Felt like I was singing in a band. All right. But, all right. Next item on the agenda is the monthly financial report. We have presented the monthly financials for March 31, 17. You'll see the detailed report first, or not the detailed, but the general. Mr. Trahus, if you want to go through that document and discuss it for the board.
Yes, sir. For period ending March 31, 2017, we've got a cash balance of $11,588,423.45. And then below there, you'll see our beginning fund equity balance as of 7/1/2016 was $6,310,159.35. And we've had total revenues to date of $42,954,652.39, and total expenditures of $37,676,388.29, for an ending fund equity of $11,588,423.45. Just a snapshot there. We can now, Dr. Mill, go to the comparison.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Okay, for the comparison, we, again, that, you'll see that $11,588,423.45. This time last year, we were at $9,625,345.48. So we're in very good shape currently. As good a place as we have been in probably a very long time, quite honestly. So we feel very good. That's why I've got my green tie on, the color of money, as they say. So we're very pleased with where we are at this point in the year. Any questions?
How do you feel about the TABT now that it's been in place for?
It's leveled out. Yeah, it's. I'll have a little more to say to that when we get into the budget hearing portion here just shortly. But and we can look at the detailed portion now. You'll bring that off of the the financial system. We're at 75% of the year at this point in time, and we've got 90% of our local taxes, revenues, that would be your real and personal collected to this point, and we are at 90% currently of what we budgeted at this point in time. We've got 25% of the year and 10% of that money to get yet. But I think we're going to have a pretty good April. The utility companies have been paying their taxes here during the month of April, so we'll see a nice bump there. The TABT you just asked about, Mr. Preston, as of this time, we're at 76%. We're tracking right on to where we budgeted. I think we'll actually end up at about 1.2 million for the year on the TABT taxes. It's been real strong, and don't see that changing at this point in time. We also, from the standpoint of motor vehicle taxes, we kind of held back a little bit and thought, it's going to continue to decline, but the decline this year hasn't been near where we thought it had been, what it was going to be. So we've seen that holding up, so people are, like myself, are holding on to their older vehicles a little longer and continuing to pay that birthday tax. State and local taxes, again, you're going to see some downside there because of the accrual numbers that will come in later in the year as we post accrual payrolls for the July-August period, and post those numbers as well when we begin to close. And if you'll scroll, continue to the next page. So overall, we're at 69% for our revenues currently because the state revenues play such a big piece of that at this time. You'll move down. Any questions on the revenue piece? You'll scroll down to the expenditures. Again, 75% of the year we're currently at, and you can see in terms of our expenditures to budget, we are maintaining a pretty decent level. Again, accruals, payrolls will come in later as we begin to close, and those numbers, particularly in the instructional functional area, will go up quite a lot. All other areas are pretty well in line. And overall, we're at 59%, almost 60% for the year of our budgeted expenditures. Questions? Okay, thank you. And then if you'll bring up the East Lost. East Lost, SLOSS 4, we brought in $449,738.80. That is down from a year ago, March, a little bit. But I think overall, between the 3 months, we're probably not too far, not too far off there. But we have seen a decline there because of the TABT tax replacing the sales tax on motor vehicles. We no longer get any sales tax revenues on those motor vehicles when they sell. We just get the TABT. But it shifted it to an M&O type revenue for us, and that's been helpful, certainly. Overall, for the year to date, we're at 10 million, or for the SLOSS 4 overall, we're at 10,537,941.79, an average of $458,171.38. We've made no other payments as far as our bond principal and interest. Still holding at that $3,184,000. We will have a bond, both principal and interest payment due in August coming up. That will be right at $3 million. So we'll continue to pay that off. Our construction projects that you see there, the expenditures, we to date have spent $7,531,462.99. You can see how it's broken out, corresponding in the nickels. They're moving right along. They're under roof on 2 wings right now, and it looks really good. And all the other areas are to a lesser extent. The middle school ag building, there probably will be some closeout costs that we'll have to finish out yet. I don't know that that's an ending final number just yet for the ag building.
They do have goats in the stalls.
They have goats in the stalls.
I can vouch for that. I got one there.
Great.
Any questions on the SPOS? All right. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions, comments about the monthly financials?
We'll collect from that, cover
Covered.
projects we got.
I think if it holds the way it has been, I think we'll be okay.
Tight.
Yes, sir.
Budget hearings, the next item on the agenda, we have, there's a law that was put into effect this past year that we have to dedicate 2 times to have what could be described as budget hearings. So we are going to have an official budget hearing at this point, preparation for the FY18 budget. So we did make public notice of this meeting. So you have a notebook that has information pertaining to this year's budget in it. The first sheet is a proposed budget for FY18. And keep in mind, this is a draft. So y'all want to describe what we have in the notebooks?
Sure. What I've done here is we've taken the estimated revenues for FY18. The first column is your FY18 general fund proposed budget. And then what I did is we've laid in the general fund FY17 budgeted revenues next to that, just to kind of give you a comparative. As far as local taxes and other appropriations, and that would be real and personal property, we're basically calling it a flat, at least at this point in time, until we get a digest, which won't be until sometime in July. We don't know where that will really come in at, but we just feel like it's going to be somewhere in the same, it's been trending relatively flat over the last several years, and so we just felt that that was a conservative approach to take as far as the local revenues were concerned. The big difference here is going to be in your state revenues. You can see there that our state revenues have climbed by about $1.6 million. And that's projected as of yet. The governor has not signed the budget bill for 2017 at this point in time, so this is all unofficial at this point in time. But we are seeing some increased dollars from the state. 2%. Part of that is related to the 2% cost of living increase that the governor has put in the budget for teachers to get that cost of living increase of 2%. And then the other big piece that really came through for us is the equalization money that we are anticipating, and that is going to go up by some $800,000 as well. And that would be a good indicator with other areas, particularly the metro Atlanta area. Their tax digests climbing at a much higher rate than ours. We dropped down the list, which helped us really enjoy a higher equalization money dollar figure for this coming year potentially. So that's the overall. That's basically the difference that you're seeing there of the $63,708,22 versus last year $61,995,372. And those two components overall are making up that difference that we're seeing there. On the projected or estimated expenditures, you can again see that by functional area, we're projecting overall total of $63,118,045 versus last year $62,645,810. Now, as it relates to the expenditures, the 2% cost of living increase has been included in this computation that we've got on expenditures. So for certified staff, and we will do that for all staff, not just for certified.
So that would be the 2% that was included in the salary schedule provided by the state DOE a couple of months ago now.
That's right.
And then it includes a 1% to put us at the 3% that all of our employees receive this year. So we will continue that 3% through next fiscal year. So we'll continue the pay structure as we put in place this past year. And if you remember last year, we put it in place as a one-time. Well, this is going to make the 2% permanent. So the 2% will be permanent, and then we'll continue all that 1%, and which would give them the 3%. So the exciting thing is the 2% becomes permanent for the new salary schedule that's been sent out.
The other added cost that is playing into this is the cost of benefits. Next year. I don't have a calculation on what the impact of that just yet. We've got to do some additional tweaking of our budget before we'll have you but we can get you a good number on that as well. But when you think about that the way I look at it, when you think about that 2.54% jump in that percentage, that's an 18% increase over the 14.27 that we paid this year. And that's going all into the employee. The employees are still going to pay 6% into TRS. That doesn't change for them. But our portion as a school system that we will be contributing into their retirement plan fund is going up significantly next year. If you'll scroll down, Dr. Mould. So, revenues over expenditures, we are actually showing surplus of $582,777 at the end of next year. We're projecting that coming out of 16, we're going to add at least $1.5 million to our fund balance when we close 2016. So the $6.3 million that you saw on that comparison sheet a few minutes ago when I went through the financials, plus the $1.5 million that we're projecting, is going to bring us to $7.8 million, $7,810,159 as of the end of this year. Adding that $582,777 to the $7,000,008 brings us at the end of June of 2018 to $8,392,936. And that is well above the 10% that we say we want to have in fund balance, when you think about 10% of 63,118,000 is 6.3 million. So we're 2 million above that.
How many months, one time we talked about a certain, I thought we were looking at a monthly, you won't have so many months set aside.
Right. At 8,000,003, we're at about, it'd be great to have 2 months of expenditures on fund balance. 8.3 million is going to be probably about 6-7 weeks, somewhere in there. It's about $4.5 to $5 million per month for salary benefits and other stuff on a month basis.
So what would a goal be if you wanted to get to that 2 months you're looking at?
You're looking at probably 9.5 to 10 million in fund balance.
Now, that would be ideal. That would be
Yeah,
where you.
that would be, yeah. I mean, in your personal life, they tell you should have 6 months of a safety net in liquidity to weather, a situation in your life, your personal lifestyle. But we are restricted to 15% of our expenditures. Anything above 15%, and they can ding you when they go through the audit. But I didn't.
I just asked because, obviously this is a great position to be in. We haven't always been in this position. Now that we are having a couple of years where we are coming in under where we thought we would be, we got to build our fund balance back up so that if you hit those bad times again, we can weather that. And I was just curious as to what our goal is, where do we need to be,
I would say equalization too is a year-to-year phenomenon. It could change based on our local tax digest or fluctuations. Even another district's tax digest can influence where we fall as far as equalization is concerned. So you're right, we do have to be cautious because our equalization, while it's helped us this coming year in a big way, it could go the other way next year.
Well, that's what I'm saying, when we were running deficits, we had to balance what we were going to give up and what we were, going to accept as a deficit. Now we got some excess. At the end of the year, you have to be able to balance how much do we need to set aside for the next time to turn around, and how much do we need to try to catch up on some things that we,
Our policy says we're to have 10% of fund balance, 10% of our expenditures, the budgeted expenditures. That's why I mentioned the 6.
so we'll have that.
We'll have that.
But a
yes.
goal would be,
Yeah.
In between 10 to 15%.
Right.
No, we want at least 10, and really, we don't need to carry any more than 15. I mean, we can, and that would be nice, but yeah, it would be a nice problem to have.
but you've got, like I said, we've got some things, like I said, we have, we've got some areas we would like to go back and fix some things, but you've also got to address this as well, and that's what I'm trying to see where that balance needs to be. Will the TRS increase affect these numbers? I would like, you don't know.
Well, it's in there, but right now, we're going to have to do some recalculating to give you a good fix on what
Okay.
that difference is.
So you've
But
got
we
the
can
16 point, but you just, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going-
Yeah,
you're
that
going-
16.81 is in.
Okay,
here.
I got you.
This-
All right, so that includes that.
Yes, yes, sir.
Good deal.
But you're going off current staffing, and that's going to
Yeah,
change.
that's right.
Okay, all right, I got you.
Any other questions? That's hearing number 1, and hearing number 2 will be May the 11th. We will advertise for that, and that will be at our work session. And the intention would be then to adopt the tentative budget at the regular meeting of that May 11th work session and board meeting, so that we will have both the hearing and then the adoption of the tentative budget, and then be ready to adopt a final budget 2 weeks after that. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ken.
All right, if there's no more questions, we'll move on to bids. We have an E-rate bid that is being presented. Dr. Newell in the technology department. Dr. Newell, do you want to describe the technology bid?
Sure, this is a bid for the data cabling for the new Nichols Elementary School. This is the E-rate eligible portion of that project. This includes all the data cabling for computer network drops, telephone drops, security cameras, as well as the classroom audio systems. This is just the network cabling portion. We've isolated everything that was available or that was eligible for E-rate funding through our discount system and packaged that up as an RFP, and you can see that we had a strong response. We had several vendors submit proposals, and we recommend that the board go with the low bid of a total of $61,768.30 from Envision Technologies. They're out of the Albany area. I've done a lot of work with school systems in the area. We checked up on the references they check out. Highly recommended, and we would like to go with that vendor. The E-rate portion is 90%, so of that $61,768.30 total, USAC, Universal Service Agency, will pay $55,591.47, leaving a balance of $6,176.83, which would be funded by local SPLOST funds. That's our recommendation, and we'd like to place that on the consent agenda for the May 11th meeting.
If it pleases the board, we'll place this on the consent agenda for the May 11th meeting. And to explain that, Reagan, a year or so ago, we decided that in items such as this, where there's no real rush to move through and get it done, and we've got time to present it to the board and for y'all to have time to look at it and think about it, we're going to present it at this work session, and then we would approve it at the next monthly meeting. That way we've got plenty of time for the board to be able to review it before we ask it to approve. So it seems to be working well. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Performing Arts Center bid, and we had the bid opening a couple of weeks ago, and the low bid was submitted from Jones Construction out of Tifton County, Tifton, Georgia, and we are recommending tonight that we accept the bid from Jones Construction for $10,580,000 for the Performing Arts Center at Causey High School. At this time, we do have our architect here. We invited Mr. Suttles here tonight to help answer any questions, provide any input the board may need.
What are the add alternates?
The add alternate number one would be to finish out the black box theater. When it was bid, and the base bid is just to be hauled in.
Yeah.
And that's what we had discussed, early on. So that number is to completely finish it out, which would be turnkey, audio, visual, lighting, everything. Add alternate number two would be to, in lieu of using, we've specified a luxury vinyl tile in the lobby. This would be to go to a terrazzo floor, terrazzo tile. So, and add alternate number three is actually it's just a back corridor around the back of the stage. It is scheduled to have just sealed concrete, and there's three alternates there for three different types of VCT in lieu of just going with the sealed concrete.
So finishing the black box and then basically forward.
That's right.
Okay.
That's correct.
And we are recommending the base bid price. We're not recommending the add alternates.
Yeah, I was just curious, I mean, I know we've talked about it, but I didn't know which, what equated to what.
Yes, sir. I would love to do terrazzo in this project, but I don't think that the dollar amount will allow us to do terrazzo.
What would the big, I know that this is probably maybe a difficult question to ask, but if we rough in the black box, don't accept the ad alternate at this point, what projected, I mean, I know you can't say it's going to be ad alternate $330,000 in 4 years. But,
Right.
But
Certainly, it would be, significantly higher than that, Ryan, if, just simply because of the cost of bringing in a contractor at that additional time, down the road, cost of increase,
right.
regular inflation rate.
What would be how long is that price good for?
That I don't know. I would imagine they would probably hold that price pretty steady, because they won't be, the biggest bulk of that work wouldn't be taking place till the latter stages of this job. You'll see the number of days they've got in, 570.
Well,
So
that's
it's
why I
gonna
was
be
asking, you're talking about
a year and a half.
Yeah.
Does that time frame fit with everything we're trying to do? As far as the 570 days, is that giving you enough
Yes.
time to, I mean, is the school impacted much as far as access, egress, and that?
Shouldn't where it's at, and we've got all that lay down area, out in the grass area going on out to the road. So shouldn't impact the parking lots or the gym or media center.
Be a projected start date.
I talked to Mr. Jones this morning, and he said, I said 3 weeks, he said 3 weeks, they would look to get started. Now, he said it depends on their subs, of course, getting the subs going, but he said he would do whatever he could do to get subs going and start as soon as possible. You verify that?
Yes.
So, they seemed eager to get started.
Probably good to get a whole summer out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after looking at their body of work, I feel like they're very, very capable of doing this project and doing us a good job.
They did the one in Tiffin County?
No, they didn't do the one at the high school. They did do one, I think, at the heart of Georgia. There
They
in,
did the what is it called at the college there?
The
ABAC.
UGA, yeah, the UGA conference center.
They did the conference center
They
there.
did the UGA conference.
Which has a very nice auditorium in there.
It's very large.
And I was told, Vic, that when they built the new Tiff County High School 20 years ago, that they had the construction management firm, Beards was the construction management firm, but then Jones did do some of that work.
that's right, they did do some of that as a subcontractor to them.
Yeah, all right. On the Tiff High School.
Yeah.
That's what I was told. If it pleases the board, we'll have this on the agenda for the regular meeting, but we will not have it on the consent agenda unless the board wants us to put it on the consent agenda, if y'all are fine with that.
Change it to the consent.
Did we put it on the consent, you did put it on the consent, so it is on the consent agenda, all right, great.
All right.
Just a second, I'm excited. Not excited, but again,
All right, great. Out-of-state travel, we have a couple of trips. Coffee High School CMS, the Family Consumer Science Group is going to Warner Robins, which does not require out-of-state, but they're also going to Nashville to compete on the National Star Event Conference. And then Coffee High School, the TSA group is going to a national competition in Orlando. If it pleases the board, we will place this on the consent agenda for approval of the regular board. Textbook resource adoption. We have presented previously a request from Dr. Evans to purchase textbooks. And Dr. Evans, if you want to explain this request and go through the details.
Okay, actually, the other document, Chan, is the secondary science and social studies adoption proposal, and this was presented at the last meeting. So we would like for that to be on the consent agenda. That's for a total, if you scroll on down, Dr. Newell, for social studies and science. Down at the bottom of that graph, you see a total there of $370,000, $103.20. The other document is a social studies proposal for grade 6 and 7, 8, all 3 grades at the middle school for social studies, and that's coming in at $39,468. And this is just for information to be placed on the consent agenda for next month.
It's East Plus.
Yes, sir.
And these are for 6 years, the materials that come along with these resources will be for 6 years.
Dr. Evans, what is our overall goal for the textbooks? We're going to have classroom sets and we're going to have take-home sets as they need. Do we have an overall plan of what we're trying to provide to the students, especially the middle school and high school ages?
It depends on the need. Today, so many of the resources and so many of the standards are not taught just from the textbook. There's so many other resources. So in many cases, they'll have a class set, and then they'll have a set available if kids want to check them out, to take them home. I know at the high school level, that's every teacher has a class set. The textbooks are online. Most students prefer that, but for those who don't like the online textbook, they do have a hard copy available for them. So it varies between content area and grade level as to what the needs are. But we try not to over-purchase and get things that are not going to be used.
And this recommendation, let me clarify, is for approval at this meeting tonight at 7:30, is what I have.
Well, this is for the social studies for the middle school, this is the first time the board is seeing this, so
All right.
that's up to the board. But that's significantly a lower amount than the secondary.
So 370 for the secondary, the high school textbook.
That one on the consent agenda.
And we'll put that on the
That's what you
consent.
talked about before.
All right.
And say the other one next week.
And the social studies, 39,468.
That
The
will
next
be next meeting's
All right.
consent agenda.
All right.
And we'll still have plenty of time to get those ordered and get ahead of it.
All right.
Why is that we got shipping and handling and the other one doesn't?
I'm not sure. It depends on the companies, the amount of the purchase.
Well, that's what I was wondering, I was like, if it costs that much to ship them, but I think they would cost to ship all these, since they maybe get them.
Well, on the secondary, last month, when I first looked at this, I did contact one company and ask them about that, so they ended up taking off the shipping charges for us. So they had like a $4,000 shipping charge on there.
All right.
They were in Kentucky, but I thought the same thing, we could go get them.
That's fine, I'm not doing anything.
All right. Are there any questions about textbook purchase? All right. Policy. We have a couple policies we've added to the agenda, and these are for a first read, just presenting to the board as a draft of a potential policy. We understand that these will sit on the table for at least 30 days, and we will be editing these policies more than likely. We did want to present two proposed policies to the board. The first is policy GAG, which is a staff conflict of interest policy. We had discussed this previously. Deals with nepotism and conflict of interest in hiring and placement of employees at different sites. So if the board wants to take their time to review this policy over the next couple of weeks, and the next time we get together, we may want to have some discussion or in between. If you have any comments or concerns, let me know. This will be out there for public review, so we would expect that there be some public comments made on our website. So we're just presenting this to the board as a draft for review. The next item on the agenda is the policy descriptor code JCDAC, student drug use. We started this process last year and we began drafting a policy, and we discussed this at a board meeting or a couple of board meetings within the last 12 months. So we're bringing this back to the board. I have talked with the athletic director and we discussed moving forward with this policy, and they're very comfortable moving forward with this policy, and so we're bringing it back to the board for consideration again, and once again, bringing this for your review and for you to look at, and our legal counsel, of course, to review this policy and move towards possibly adopting such policy. I do think with the opioid epidemic that we're reading about in the newspapers, and we're seeing on the nightly news the deaths that are occurring because of drugs, that this is very relevant, and I think it would be a good policy for us to adopt as a school system. Anything that can keep one young person from getting hooked on drugs, knowing the negative effects. I'm sure our partner in law enforcement in the back could tell us about the negative effects that they see people's lives as a result of drugs. This would be something that hopefully could help our young people say no, because so often peer pressure is part of the equation when it comes to that. So this would give them a reason to say no. I can't. Not that they all need a reason, but it would help.
And this will also be placed on the website for public?
Yes, ma'am. This will be on the website for public review. And there is a place where people can provide comments. So.
And that still provides us time to deliberate.
Exactly.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And seals.
All right. If there's no questions about that, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is Coastal Plains High School Intergovernmental and Facility Use Agreement. I had presented to you all that email of the intergovernmental agreement and facilities use agreement last week or the week before. And after consideration and talking with our secondary principals, I spoke with both Dr. Cummings and Mr. Gillis, and after considering the initiatives that we currently have ongoing in our system, I just feel that I need to rescind this initiative at this point and take it off the table for any sort of implementation this coming school year. I have notified Ricky Brents that came and talked to you all at our last meeting and presented the concept of the Coastal Plains Charter High School, and I let him know that we would not be able to move forward for FY18, but I did leave open the possibility that for FY19, if we studied it and we felt like it was something that could benefit us, I let him know that it might be something we want to pursue in the future, but for now, we're not interested in pursuing it. So. I just felt like I wanted to present that to the board so that everybody was on the same page.
Well, I'm like that, you know, I think it's a good program, and I think in the right situation, it will serve the system well. I just don't know how it, you know, at the present moment fits into what we've got going on, but I do think it's a good program, and I do think, you know, something to keep in mind later on down the line. I just don't see where.
That's what I felt like. It felt like it's, you know, it sounds like a good, I mean, it's on the face of it, but it's like, what do we ultimately gain locally? And I'd like to hear from business and industry. I'd like to hear from the high school. I'd like to hear from Wiregrass. I'd like to hear from the local judiciary, student, you know, the juvenile, young adult.
I'm saying if it was in the right program, done the right way, it might, but just the way we're set up right now, I just don't see it.
We already got a lot of stuff going on without help.
That's right. All right, at this time, we've got the elementary handbooks and middle school handbooks and secondary handbooks. Dr. Banks has been working on this with the principals, and of course, he presented at our retreat that we had several weeks ago. And so, Dr. Banks, I'm going to give you the floor on the handbooks.
First of all, I'd like to say, in dealing with the handbooks and looking through the handbooks and comparing the handbooks from when I first came to Coffee County in 2001, working at Tilly Elementary, then being principal at the elementary level, principal at George Washington College freshman campus, and also with the help of the Lord moving up to be over here at the central office. I would say that we have policies in place that will address predominantly most, if not all, situations that arise within our school system. And when I look at the handbook at the elementary level and what I have presented to you, most of the information that I just submitted to you, handed out to you, we went over at the board retreat. What I will say, we added in since the last time the federal program updates from Ms. Kim Miller. In the handbook on pages 11 and 12 is at the elementary level, middle school level, and high school level. You see the page numbers are there. Important part that was added to the handbooks will be our positive behavior and interventions supports, our PBIS program for next year. That's also attached to the handout that I gave you. That's the statement that you will see for the elementary handbooks and going through it. Now, if you guys want me to go through everything that I have here before that I handed out to you, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence. I just want to be effective when I actually present this information to you. So if you have any questions or concerns about anything that you see there, or anything that you may have heard going on in the handbook from last year, and I will say we've made some changes from last year to this year, but most of the changes that were made, they are very effective within our school system. And I say that because last year we had more concerns with some things that were in there pertaining to the buses. This year those problems or those concerns were actually minimized to pretty much zero. And I will say this year, and each year has its own uniqueness, but this year it seems like we have more level 4 infractions where kids were threatening each other or threatening to kill. We had situations at the high school that came up with level 4 instances, but normally when those situations come up, it's an automatic 10-day pending tribunal type situation. And when those situations arise, I'm always consulting with my superintendent, Dr. Lease, before we make a final decision on what we need to do, what actions we need to take. So pretty much in all capacities, I've had very minimal concerns about bullying this year. Not to say that there were no situations, there were some, but it was addressed, and I feel that they were dealt with effectively at the school level. So the principals, the APs, APIs, counselors, etc., teachers on the front lines in the classroom, bus problems, I feel that we have some things in place within our handbooks that will take care of pretty much any situation that arises during the school year. I really do feel that we are stronger than we've ever been with our handbooks to cover certain things. Some of the concerns will always be with sometimes with technology, usage of phones. How do we minimize that at the pretty much grades 6 through 12? Those were always some concerns that we've had, but I think I'll give you an example with Michelle Berry at the middle school. Next year, pretty much she wants cell phones turned off when the kids get in her building. Practically pretty much all day. They have to use it after school. They can use it after school. She pretty much feels that every student will have a Chromebook next year at her school to operate with technology if possible. So they really don't need to have their cell phones on at all during the school day. So those are some things that I find a concern with technology in certain instances, but for the most part, we do a good job of taking care of situations in our school system. Another thing I have down there, you see highlighted in bold, is the transportation department. I remember Mr. Locke wanted to add being able to be notified early that morning, just in case the student was riding the bus that day, or will be riding the bus that day. Other than that, there are very minimal changes that has been made within our handbook, but the ones that were made, I feel that it will make a noticeable difference in how we operate within a school system. So any concerns or questions you all have for me?
You said Ms. Berry will be allowed to enforce cell phone being turned off?
Yes.
I would only ask that the teachers follow that. Some of the teachers some may be a little bit more lax than others, which is not fair to the ones that follow that, so that would be important. And remind me, I'm sure we talked about this at the retreat, how are we going to communicate these changes to the parents? Like the transportation one specifically, we had that conversation.
I think that normally to start your year off, one of the best times to indicate to our stakeholders, to our parents, about any changes that we have. Sometimes you have to publicize it in the newspaper, but during open house, that first initial contact that they have with those parents and those students, I think sometimes a session with those parents before they leave from open house something needs to be told to them about what the changes are in the handbook and what we're going to do differently from last year to the upcoming year.
And even if you just provide a summary of the changes on where to look for each age, for the different ones.
I suppose going to that sheet right there.
That sheet would be very helpful to
With the
them
packet
to
that
go
they
look
get
for
for a
it.
teacher, have that in there where they can go to the handbook and look, so when they change this and this and this,
We can do that.
you know, I mean, it's all right
And
there.
also that first PTO meeting, need to address that with the parents about the changes that we have in the handbook and some of the things that we have to offer for the upcoming school season. I think that would be great to do. And I will indicate that we have a principals meeting on May 2nd, just coming Tuesday, so we will go over these things with them and make sure we're all aware of them and we're on the same page. And I want to say thank you to all of you. I'm not to be kidding, but the last 2 weeks prior to we going to spring break, I'm in my office. I'm waiting for a call from Mr. Johnson. But I kept looking out the window and I said, getting that 850-4530 number, calling my phone, it's been different. I mean, still have a lot to do, but Mr. Johnson always gave me an assignment that I had to work through. But
I'm trying to think of something.
But I appreciate how we have rallied together and to continue the process of it's all about the kids. His motto is all about the kids, and so that's what we all strive to do: make lives better for the kids coming within the future system here in Coffee County. So I want to say I appreciate everything that you all do to make the job easier for us. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Banks.
Thank you.
Audience participation. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the board, I would ask that we move to an executive session to discuss and deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee. Also, to consult and meet with legal counsel pertaining to pending or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial action brought or to be brought by or against the school district.
Can we need a motion?
Move we exit to executive sessions for the reasons doubly listed.
Ms. Miller, on the vote? Ms. Miller, motion to exit executive session. Press second, on the vote. Okay, we're gonna close our meeting for the work session, and we will start our regular meeting.